We are almost finished with the first month of 2025, but if you're like nearly half of Americans, well, your credit card debt is far from being paid off. Joining us now is Ted Rossman, a senior industry analyst with Bankrate. Ted, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump right in here. What is the best way to tackle credit card debt, especially if it's in the thousands?
My favorite tip is to sign up for a 0% balance transfer credit card. Good examples include the Wells Fargo Reflect and the Citi Simplicity. Both of those have 21-month 0% terms. So what you do is you take your existing high-cost debt from one or more cards, you move it over to this newly opened card. Really try to be systematic about paying it down before the term ends, because once the term ends, the rate goes way up. But if you pay it off within the 0% term, you could save a ton of money in interest.
All right, well, when it comes to credit cards, we know they're not all created equally. So what credit cards should you stay away from?
Store credit cards have really high interest rates. The average retail card charges about 30% versus an average of about 20% for all cards. So be especially careful if you're offered one of these at the checkout counter. They often have very high interest rates.
And I know one thing that's really enticing to a lot of consumers is the rewards. What are some of the best credit cards when it comes to reward points?
Yeah, rewards are the fun part. Half of cardholders pay in full every month, and for them, rewards are worth it. I mean, it doesn't make sense to pay 20% interest to get 1 or 2 or even 4 or 5% in cash back or airline miles. But if you're free from credit card debt, then rewards are great. Cash back is Americans' favorite credit card reward. I'll actually give a somewhat surprising recommendation, which is a no annual fee 2% cash back card is actually surprisingly hard to beat for the masses. I'm talking about the Citi Double Cash, Wells Fargo Active Cash, cards like that. Now, you can get fancier. I mean, you could get great travel perks like the Amex Platinum, the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You get into the airport lounge. There's a lot of good benefits. Frankly, though, most people don't want to pay high annual fees. They don't want to juggle too many cards. They just like cash back. Think about your spending habits, though. Look to emphasize your key spending habits, whether that's groceries or gas or something else.
You know, we're always told to read the fine print. Does the same go for using those reward points?
The good news is that credit card rewards don't usually expire as long as you have your account open in good standing. That's in contrast to many hotel and airline rewards, which actually do have expirations attached. Credit card points don't usually expire. You do, though, need to be aware of some of the fine print, especially in the travel world. The miles tend to lose value over time. Maybe this year it's 25,000 for a free flight. Maybe next year it's 30,000 or 35,000. There's these kind of devaluations that go on. Inflation can also eat into the value. So these are all reasons why it's best to use your rewards sooner rather than later.
You mentioned a lot of the deals that the different credit card companies are offering right now, certainly enticing to consumers who may be dealing with some debt issues. Can signing up for too many credit cards hurt your credit score? I mean, how many should you realistically have?
If you sign up for too many in short order, that's going to be a problem. I would try to space credit applications out by about 6 months or so. And that's not just credit cards, by the way. That's other loans and lines of credit as well. Another way to put it, maybe don't open more than 5 accounts in a 2-year span, something like that. If you open cards occasionally, once or twice a year, your credit should be fine. I know people that have 30 credit cards that have great credit. They didn't get there overnight, though. You definitely want to space this out. The average American has about 3 or 4 credit cards, so you don't need to go crazy with it. And especially if you're carrying a balance, tread carefully. Don't dig the hole any deeper. Maybe stick to cash or debit while you pay down your debt.
All some great advice there. Finally, you know, we've seen the Fed cut interest rates. Are credit card interest rates going down anytime soon? Are we going to see a trickle-down effect from that?
They have not declined much, unfortunately. The average peaked at a record. It was about 20.8% last summer, and now it's down to right about 20%. So it's come down a little bit, but it's still really high. And honestly, that dip we've seen is not really noticeable to the average person. Credit card rates are high in large part because it's unsecured debt. Some people don't pay it back. It's not secured by an asset like a car or a home. So credit card rates are high. They're going to stay high. The best advice is to get one of those 0% balance transfer cards, or maybe work with a reputable nonprofit credit counselor like Money Management International. They can be really helpful as well.
And I'm assuming that you can call your credit card company and try to negotiate a lower interest rate?
That works about 3/4 of the time. The reason it's not my favorite bit of advice is just how much are they going to lower it? Maybe they bring it from 20 to 15 or something like that. And yes, it helps, but it's not zero. That's where I would say the 0% balance transfer, which tends to be a new customer acquisition tool, that's a great approach. Those nonprofit credit counselors I mentioned, Money Management International, Green Path, and others, they can often negotiate something like a 7 or 8% rate over 4 or 5 years. That would be my second tip.
All great advice. We certainly appreciate your insight and perspective this afternoon. Ted Rossman, Senior Industry Analyst with Bankrate. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks.